Hey guys. So I'm just now finally getting a chance to breathe again. I've been taking care of the kids, and it's busy. Having little ones is like, what do we call that? An act of Congress to get in and out of the house, right? And anyway, so they're good, they're fine, they're in bed, dinner, lunches, everything done. So I wanted to finish talking about sorry. I want to put my anyway. Okay. I want to finish talking about what I talked about earlier about abandonment issues, and because this is very important, and yeah, I'm going to be talking about this for a little minute here, okay? Because people who have abandonment issues really can affect other people's lives in ways that are just, maybe they don't see it that way, but it could feel like a tornado coming through your life, They don't realize it. They don't, I don't think that they mean to be that way, but I don't even think most people that I know don't realize that they have abandonment issues. Some women understand about it because they've heard about it, but a lot of men especially, they don't know. They out here just, what does that song say? Out here making babies and whatever, like making babies and whatever. Like the song is that song Toxic? How does it go? Something like that. And he's praying for them to change their ways or whatever he says at the end. It's like, you just, a lot of times men especially can be out here, they have a lot of wounding, a lot of emotional pain, and a lot of hurt from their childhood, and they don't even know it. Now that one, that's from what? Future and, what's his name? Was it Gucci Mane? Who was it? Future? They don't even know it. That's what you don't even know it, okay? But really, for real, it can affect a lot of us women. And someone like me, thankfully, I was raised with a strong enough foundation that I can bounce back from things. But a lot of people, they can't. They get so hurt from other hurt people, because they say it all the time. They say hurting people hurt people, okay? And that's what I'm talking about here, basically. So when you have abandonment issues, or you have an abandonment wound, what will tend to happen is you may show up in relationships either super avoidant or super attached. Okay, it really can be either one. But basically, if you have a hard time being alone, or maybe you can be alone, but when it comes time to actually having a real commitment, you have a issue with having a strong commitment. Okay, so maybe, let's say, for example, it's all good in the dating. You date someone, for a long time, maybe you can feel comfortable dating, being with that person, interacting with that person or whatnot, maybe even being engaged. I mean, hey, I know some men that maybe they feel comfortable even getting married. Like, they might even get married, right? But then sometime after that, a fear sets in that this person that they married, who they have such high hopes for, they have a huge fear that this person is going to back out of the commitment or leave them. And the fear takes over them. And so before they get left and have to deal with that pain or the emotional hurt of what they are perceiving to be coming at them, or an inevitable action of this other person, it's inevitable that this person I married or whatever is going to leave or hurt me in some sort of way, or cheat on me, take me for all my money and run, or whatever, right? So before that happens, I'll take myself out. I'll leave the relationship. I'll dump her. Or I'll act so crazy that I'll make her want to leave. Or I just won't show up. I'll ghost. Not really talk to her anymore. Or I'll just, whatever. Like, basically break up. Okay? That is like running from the emotion, the serious emotion, or that serious commitment, or that's having a very intense, bond that is maybe starting to form. Maybe you're starting to form an emotional connection. Okay? And by you running and leaving and exiting the situation or sabotaging the relationship before the other person can technically or can hurt you, in your mind you're thinking you've done the safe thing to do. Okay? That is self-sabotage because that person may or may not actually leave you. Okay, you're assuming that this person is going to do or be like every other woman you've been with or every other man that you've been with, right? Now, men understand this, and men see this a lot in women, and you'll hear men say, and I'm going to use quotes, "Oh, that's an angry black woman." And they will see a woman coming off hard, mean, yelling, screaming, rash, whatever, and I've heard men say, typical angry black woman, right? They know that that is a woman who is bringing into and projecting onto somebody else what she experienced in her past relationships, right? It's the same concept, very same concept. But at this time, though, it could even be stemming from your childhood, or it could stem from a past relationship. And so if you have a deep-seated wound or fear of abandonment, it could even come from actually even a death of a loved one. I absolutely had that fear after my first husband passed. I remember, to the point that my second husband kept saying, "Yo, stop thinking that I'm going to have a heart attack." And I didn't want to say that so much, or I didn't want to express that, but I was. Every time he coughed or choked, I was like, "Are you going to die?" I really was, because I was still very much in that pain. And remembering what it felt like to just lose somebody so suddenly, right? And it's the same thing. But a lot of times people, they just don't know it. They think that their fears are rational. They think that their actions are justified. And they're not. Because if the person has not even exhibited any reason for you or any cause for you to be reacting that way, then in fact you are in PTSD, or you are having some sort of fear, abandonment issue, whatnot, creep up, okay, in that moment, and you're reliving something, or you're thinking something, and sometimes you know it, sometimes you don't know it. A lot of times people don't know it. They don't even realize. Okay? But for example, let's say you have experienced some bad relationships, and now you're in a new relationship, and you decide to, or you get into an argument with your new relationship. And let's say you get into an argument about milk. Okay? Just milk. Okay? Argument about milk. And you start responding in ways as if you were speaking to somebody in your past. Okay? If you're arguing about milk and you start all of a sudden saying things like, "I remember when you took all my money," or "I remember when you left," or, "You're going to do the same thing. I know what you're going to do." And you just start mumbling and speaking random things. And I have seen this. This is the reason why I'm bringing this up. Because I have seen people do this. You are having a conversation about XYZ, and somehow it morphs into their mind, and you can tell they no longer are looking at you, but they're looking at a past lover who did something else, and now that's who they're talking to. And the reason why this is happening, the person is having a break with reality, and they never resolved that issue. But now that person is projecting onto the new person. And to most partners, an experience like that is considered crazy. or insane, or maybe at the very least just toxic. You know, something that needs to be worked out, right? Before you enter into another relationship. And so, because there are plenty of us who have experienced this type of thing with others, where you can see that some wounding, abandonment wounds, or some other childhood wounding, or maybe some other past relationship wounding, is coming out now in the current conversation, that it's not warranted, right? And you'll hear people say that or call that he's talking to his demons. Those are past demons. Those are past experiences or things that are in his closet that he has not pulled out and actually worked on. Okay? So I'm bringing this up because this is actually, it's common. It's, if you know what you're dealing with and you understand, it's you know that this happens and it can be common. Now, it's not something that I wish to have in my relationships, and it's not anything that I wish to deal with or ever revisit. Okay? But if you have experienced something like this, or if you have done something like this, this is where it's coming from. Because when you go back to your not so manic state and you think back to the episode, if you can remember, okay, maybe that could be enough to encourage you to go get some help so that you can pull these demons out of your closet, right? And talk to each one of them and cast them out. Work with them. Like, not work with them, like get rid of them. Talk to these fears, demons, whatever, past lovers or past hurts, things that you have been conjuring up on the inside. Okay? Now, I'm going to finish going through this list, or at least to the best of my ability. Okay? I'm going to try to keep these videos short because I want anybody who is watching me to be able to take this information in at a bite-sized amount and be able to maybe like digest it, think about it, so that you are not out there hurting people and blaming people and creating collateral damage from your pain. Okay, so we talked about the impact of abandonment issues on relationships. This fear can significantly impact relationships, leading to difficulties in trusting others, feeling secure, and even sabotaging relationships to avoid potential hurt. Okay, that was the last point that we had talked about. Possible origins. These issues often arise from experiences of loss, neglect, or trauma during childhood where individuals may have felt unsafe or unloved. Okay, manifestation. So this is how it manifests. Okay. Sensitivity to rejection. Very sensitive to rejection. Overreacting to perceived slights or criticism. Oh yes, I've experienced this in past relationships. Clingy behavior, seeking constant reassurance and validation from others. So clingy behavior, literally I've had past relationships where a person was avoidant and clingy. He was avoidant anytime he perceived any type of confrontation at all, but very clingy when we were not in any type of confrontational state. Very clingy. Okay, he even said to me several times, "You can't leave. You better not leave. You don't go nowhere." And you could even when it was unprovoked, he was definitely concerned about me leaving. But all of that type of behavior will definitely lead anybody to leave. It will definitely make most people, or at least who are what we call securely attached, okay, or more balanced. I would just say balanced. It would make the average person leave, just because, again, they don't realize the behavior is a result. That behavior, that talk, those actions, those fears are a result of having this issue. And quite honestly, I've had at least 2 past relationships where they needed psychotherapy. They don't know they need that, but psychotherapy is definitely needed. Okay? And it's due to this. This right here. This right here that I'm talking about is the reason why I recommend psychotherapy. Okay, difficulty with intimacy. Having trouble forming close relationships and intimate relationships. Difficulty with intimacy. The reason why they have a difficulty with this intimacy and forming close and intimate relationships is because of trust. There's a lack of trust. One thing that has always helped me as a Christian woman and in my relationship with God, right? When you trust God Almighty, Jehovah God, Yahweh, when you trust Him to love you, to have your back, and when you know and trust that He sees all things, and He will always bring balance back when you are wronged. He did that in the Bible for His people. He was very intimately acquainted with everyone in the Bible, with all of His worshipers. He knew them. He watched them. And the Bible does talk about it. The Bible does say, in fact, the angels go to and fro and look at everything, right? Jehovah God created us, and He loves us, right? Bible says, not one sparrow, not one bird falls to the ground that He doesn't know about, right? So when we trust Him, that He is our ultimate healer, and that anybody that wrongs you, or anybody that has ill will towards you, or bad intentions towards you, He will work it out. He will definitely, they will reap what they sow. He will make sure that it gets worked out. And when you have ultimate trust in Him, that He has your back, and that He sees the intentions of everybody, you can have more trust that if the people you are around, or the relationship that you're in, or the partner that you're with at that moment, or could be a family member, or workmate, or whatever, that whatever is going on, He will reveal it to you in time. Okay, whenever He sees fit. He always did that in the Bible. He always brought out anything that needed to come to the surface. He gave people time to work it out, right? But He would always bring out, the truth would always come out. The Bible even says that. So if you have ultimate trust in Him, and you know you are doing the right thing in your heart, and you're moving good, then you can trust that, okay, I'm with this person right now, and I'm smart enough to not let things go too far where I'll get taken advantage of, but I will allow that person the grace and the opportunity to show themselves in my life, into my life, show how they want to be in my life. And I also have trust in God that He will, warn me or let me know of any false steps or of any hurt. And if and when that happens, because humans are imperfect, God will help me to heal. He can help me to heal, and He will. Okay? And that helps me. That helps me because, relationships and forming this type of trusting relationship, intimate relationship, trusting somebody with your most private thoughts, hurtful situations, or things that happened to you as a child and whatnot, it can take a lot of trust, right? And it's scary. It could feel scary. The person could use it against you. You know, I definitely had someone in one of my past relationships who brought up one of my past situations as a child in the middle of an argument. It had absolutely nothing to do with what we were even talking about. And that felt to me like it was very wrong. But, you know, I survived. I survived. And it's okay. You understand? Like, it's not going to stop me from forming loving, intimate relationships with others. Okay? Because, you know, I'm going to continue to be moved by the Holy Spirit. I want love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faith, mildness, self-control. I want all those things. Hope, peace. I want those things in my life. Those are the markers of Holy Spirit, right? So I have to look beyond what I know some humans and some people can do, what people can do to you in relationships. I have to look beyond that and still work towards having Holy Spirit in my life, being moved by the Holy Spirit and letting it be evident in my life. Okay? All right, so it says, you know, other ways that this can manifest. Trust issues, struggling to trust others even when there is no reason to doubt them. Okay? So you can look this up yourself. People pleasing, putting others' needs before their own to avoid potential rejection. I'm going to read that one again. People pleasing, aka family pleasing, aka mother pleasing, aka father pleasing, aka sister pleasing, auntie pleasing, or really anybody, putting anybody's feelings over your own to please somebody else to avoid potential rejection. And living your life like that is not living at all, because everybody will at some point or another have a problem with you. Everybody at some point or another will not like something you say, something you do, something you wear, something you post. Okay? Somebody, somewhere, all the time will have an issue and will not be okay with it. Sometimes it is worth adjusting. Sometimes it is the right thing to do to adjust or to please that person, depending on who it is and depending on what kind of relationship you have with them. Also, depending on if you want to keep the relationship with that person. Okay? And some people, though, will have something to say about every single thing that you can't ever please them. Narcissistic people, family members, mates, you can't ever please them. They're never happy. This is a person who is essentially not happy on the inside. And if you try to please somebody like that or be a people pleaser, you will spend your entire life trying to please them, and it will never be good enough. And you will feel rejected in the end anyway. But being a people pleaser is a definite sign and manifestation that you have an abandonment wound. I'm not a people pleaser. Yet, some people in my life are pleased with me. Some people are not. Okay? And guess what? My life is still going on. I'm still living. I'm not melting. I'm not melting. And I'm still getting blessed. The only one person that you really want to make sure you're pleasing is God. Make sure that He's happy with you. Okay? And if you are married and if that person who you're married to is good to you, I don't mean just a piece of paper kind of marriage. I don't mean a fly-by-the-night kind of marriage. Or the kind of marriage that you get forced into that you didn't want to do. Okay? Or you felt pushed into. the day after your father died, or because you think this is what everybody wants. Not those kind of marriages. That's not a real marriage, no. That's not even the kind of situation, no. I'm talking about the kind of marriage partner that you know he or she is looking out for you. They're looking out for your best interest. There's no toxic things going on. You know that if you're sick in the bed throwing up, that person has no problem cleaning up your throw up. And when you get old and you have to go into a nursing home, then your partner will have no problem going in there and wiping your butt. Okay? There is a difference. There is a huge difference between a real marriage where two people actually want to be there, and there were no other outside influences and other people on both sides thinking that they were actually that person's mate. There were no other relationships going on outside of this, okay? This is not an arranged marriage. That type of situation that I'm talking about right there, that you might find yourself in, is called people pleasing. It's a people pleasing. You're doing whatever to please everybody else. Okay? Or it might seem like it's the acceptable thing to do. For whatever reason. Kids may be involved. Money may be involved. Houses, cars, whatever. Yeah. That right there is people pleasing at its finest. Okay? I myself would not be pushed into something like that. Because I'm not a people pleaser. And I also know how to recognize a narcissist because I had a lot of experience in my first marriage looking at my first husband's mother. Very narcissistic. Okay? And also, I had the kind of family and mother that they taught me about these things. She did. My mother taught me about abandonment issues, actually, when I was a teenager, is when I first heard about abandonment issues. Okay, I'm not saying that I wanted to hear about all this, because I didn't, but I'm so glad she did, because it got me thinking, right? Got my brain going. But as I have gone through and moved through life, there are times that I do feel, and I have felt a little bit pushed into things, right? But somewhere in your 30s, usually, definitely into your 40s, you come to a place of understanding that you can't please everybody. And the only person that matters who you please is the one you're going to bed with at night. The one who you have to wake up. The one who is treating you right. Whoever is treating you good. Okay, so when it comes to being fearful that your partner or your mate is going to act crazy or do something, especially if you've experienced this before. I have experienced lots of things, but I refuse to be close-hearted. In fact, I'm not close-hearted. In fact, I welcome love in my life. And in fact, I do have a lot of love in my life. And I am surrounded by love. All types of love I'm surrounded by. And it's because I refuse to close my heart out because of a couple of crazy experiences that I've had. Okay? And while now I'm just smarter and I look for signs of these situations, that these types of things, right? I look for these things. Now I am, but based on my past experiences, now I am looking to see, does this person have this or that issue? When I ask someone if they're married, I ask them about 12 different times. Okay? And if they plan on getting married. Do they have any other, children hanging around? How many times were they married? And things like that. Because people have a lot of fears and phobias and things and they don't realize it. They don't even know it. But it will show up. It will show up. And you, if you're not careful, you might end up being collateral damage to somebody else's, fears. Okay? There's three more things on the list. Low self-esteem, feeling unworthy of love and attention. So just because you have maybe exhibited some of these things, and maybe you have self-sabotage, or maybe you have yelled or screamed or, called names to your partner, does it mean that you yourself are not worthy of love? No. But what's actually happening is when somebody hauls off and screams, be ho, be, or, whatever other names that they can think of, right? All these other. Okay, what's actually happening is something inside of you is triggered, and something inside of you is not happy with yourself. And I'm saying not when someone rightfully makes you angry. I'm talking about when maybe you are experiencing, or maybe you are starting an argument, or maybe you're just going off for no reason or whatever, right? Something inside of you is not right. It could be due to past traumas, like we were talking about, abandonment issues. Maybe you don't feel, at the core or the root, you don't feel lovable. You don't feel worthy. Your self-esteem is low, right? Could be that you're under the influence. Maybe you smoke too much. Maybe you drink too much. Maybe you drink and take pills and smoke. Okay, all those things. Okay, like when you even drive by the store and you see that says wine, or to say liquor, wine, or say wine and spirits, right? Jesus Christ, his very first miracle was turning water into wine. He did not turn anything into spirits. Everything else is called spirits. So I want you to think about that and meditate on that. Spirits is for a reason. It can allow spirits. I'm gonna use the term that my second husband used to say. It can allow spirits to jump on you, right? Or a certain type of spirit to come out in you, right? And people will say, "Oh, it was just the wine," or it was just the drinks, or it was just whatever, me smoking or whatever, that I said that I didn't mean it. Actually, you did, but it was way down deep inside. Okay, and that spirit allowed that to come out. So, if you know that drinking or smoking or getting high, taking pills, snuffing pills, doing cocaine or whatever, whatever's out there, lower tabs, Percocets, pills, whatever, okay, all those things that people do, meth, whatever. If you know that doing those things bring out a different spirit in you that you're not proud of, that doesn't enable you to have a calm, loving, relationship with the person that you're with, then, for sure, it's, time for you to look at yourself in the mirror and stop the self-sabotaging behavior. To know that you are lovable and you are worth loving enough to stop that, druggery, which is what it is, basically. It's drugs, is mind altering. Okay? Which is a form of spiritism. You can look that up. It's a form of spiritism. That's another whole video. Your self-esteem, is so valuable. Not to think of yourself as greater than, and so great and so better than anybody else, but to love yourself enough to know so that you can be balanced. And so when you love yourself and you do self-care, and you love yourself enough, you will also love others the way that you love yourself, right? And basically when people say treat others how you would like to be treated, right? But if you don't realize how self-sabotaging you are, you will hurt others. That's why they say hurt people hurt others. Okay, so this is why having a higher self-esteem, having a healthy self-esteem is so important to giving yourself self-love. Having days where you definitely have self-care, especially for women, really for everybody. It's just that it looks different for men and women, right? But anyway, emotional reactivity. This is huge. Emotional reactivity. Overreacting to perceived slights or rejections. is an emotional reactivity. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of what this is. Okay, let's say I am visiting your house. Let's say I'm over visiting your house, and you're my boyfriend or whatever, and you know that I'm coming over here to visit you, and you are putting me off. Like, oh, I know you're here to visit me. You can sit down over there. I'll be back. I just have to go do this. Okay? And then, minutes go by and it's like, oh, I'll be down in a minute. I got to go do this. I have to go do that. I have to go do this. And an hour goes by. Okay? And then it's like, oh, I'm sorry. I have so much to do. I have to go do this and that. Now, mind you, your girlfriend came to visit you, right? And you say, you know what? I'm going to go outside and I'm going to go out into the garage and smoke. Weed, whatever. Do whatever thing that you do. Drink, whatever. And meanwhile, this person over here that's waiting to spend time with you or whatever is at this point, after about an hour or whatever, is feeling very, like not important, right? So rightfully that girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever gets upset and says, you know what, you clearly have a lot on your plate, or you clearly have other things you'd rather be doing than spending time with me, so I'm going to leave. That's a rightful reaction, right? But let's just say the response to that rightful reaction is something like, oh my God, I can't stand you. You're this, you're that, you're a B, you're a hoe, you're this. See, everything is all about you. You think you're so important, or whatever, or yelling and screaming of some sort, overreacting, right? Okay, or just up and slam the door, walk out and leave, stick your head in the sand and block that person so they can't call you or talk to you either or whatever, because it's like now you perceive that they're mad at you, so I'm going to just block you because if I block you, it's like I don't have to deal with you, as if your feelings and emotions are still actually not being affected just by blocking somebody, right? All of that is emotional overreacting. The initial person who was hurt here by this not even being, any attention given to, let's say, I'm giving that as an example, for like an hour, this girl, I'm just saying girl because I'm a girl, okay, but she had the right to be upset. Okay, she maybe, it was in the plans to meet up or whatever. She had the right to be upset. So what should have happened in that scenario is he should have said, you know what, honey, you're right. I did not pay attention to you. I've been doing too much. I don't know what I was thinking. Do you forgive me? I'm sorry. I love you. I don't want you to go nowhere. I'm sorry. That's a normal exchange. When somebody hurts you or wrongs you in some sort of way and the person brings it up to you, whether you meant to do it or not, if you express your true feelings, which are, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do this to you. I've been doing this and this and this, and it led into, and now, oh my God, it's been an hour and you have every right to be upset. What can I do to make it up to you? I'm sorry. That's it. Then the issue is addressed right away, right then and there. She doesn't have to storm out, or she doesn't have to hear you overreact by calling names and, blaming her for stuff or whatever, or even worse, by not addressing or even acknowledging her feelings and, trying to ignore the whole thing, trying to block her, walking out, being an avoidant or whatever, right? All that other stuff is so self-sabotaging, so unnecessary. It's like, just say what you mean what you say. Just say what you mean. And just absorb her energy of being upset, and be humble enough to say, you're right. I shouldn't have made you I should not have put you off this much or whatever, right? It could be about anything. This is healthy. That's a healthy exchange, because people will inadvertently hurt each other's feelings. It does happen. It happens in relationships. It happens at jobs. It happens in families. It happens all the time. But it's how you handle the pain. It's how you handle when somebody does hurt you, or when someone tells you that you have hurt them. It's how we handle it. Okay? If we take everything as a personal attack and we're too sensitive and we overreact, people are not going to want to come to tell us anything. They'll just avoid us, right? And we're never going to learn what we could have done or should have done to be different, to make that person, if it's our girlfriend, our wife, or somebody, happier, right? Because that's what it's about. It's about making those in our life, those people who make us happy, right? And who at least try to make us happy, or whoever we want in our life, that we make each other happy. You know, that there is an equal exchange of love and happiness. But like that song, love and happiness. Okay. Difficulty being alone. An intense fear of being alone, leading to a reliance on others for a sense of security and self-worth. Now, you can still have an abandonment issue even if you have no problem being alone. I knew someone who had no problem being alone. He could spend time alone, especially when he was busy being an avoider. But he still had an abandonment wound. Okay, he still had a very deep-seated abandonment wound. But also, if you have a difficulty being alone. Now, I have to admit that my first husband, you know, had a little bit of this. He was the baby of the family, so he had a little bit of this. And he used to tell me all the time he wished that he could put me in his pocket. That I was his little Polly Pocket. And because, you know, he loved to talk to me all day long or whatever. And we liked to be in constant communication with each other. And we were just that way. And it didn't bother me at all because I enjoyed talking. So it fit and it worked out okay. But he definitely had a little bit of this in him. He definitely had a fear of being alone. So, you know, but I think that's all I want to go over for this video, because this video has been long enough. But there's more to go over. But we'll go ahead and save that for another video. Good night.